Let's learn some Torah. It's Parshat Naso. It's actually the longest Torah portion in the entire Torah. It is 176 verses long. If you're looking for some symmetries of numbers, the longest tractate of the Talmud is also 176 verses long and pages long. And if you're looking for the longest chapter of Psalms, longest chapter in the entire Hebrew Bible, it is chapter 119 of the book of Psalms. That is also 176 verses long. Coincidence? I'm not sure. Anyway, Parshat Naso. In Parshat Naso, we have a lot of rituals. One of them is the Sotah. We'll talk about that later. Another one of them is the Nazir. We'll talk about that later. But the one that I wanted to focus on today is Birkat Kohanim, the blessing of the priests. Some of you might know this because of Mr. Spock from Star Trek, who famously adapted the hand gesture that the priests would use in order to bless the Israelites into his very famous Vulcan salute. This. And you might go to Jewish cemeteries and see on certain gravestones hands like this, which tells you that the person who's been buried is a Kohen, was a priest, a descendant directly from Aharon, the priest of the Torah. Now, whatever you believe about that lineage and the history, and even whatever you believe about the priesthood, it's very powerful to see that during the time of the Torah, and in many, many synagogues on the holidays today, and in Israel, every day, the priests in a community, decided by birth, are uniquely eligible to offer a blessing. And you might know this blessing either because you know it from the Torah, you've heard it sung, there are beautiful melodies for this, or you might have even received this blessing as a child from parents or given it as a parent to children. The Hebrew words are Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's face shine upon you and give you grace. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's face shine upon you and grant you peace. These are exquisite, exquisite words. There's an interesting teaching in the Talmud that I wanted to share. I learned this myself from a dear friend who has a wonderful essay on myjewishlearning.com. If you're looking for a great website, I can recommend it very, very highly. I'm proud to be a part of a lot of what myjewishlearning.com does. His name is Rabbi Josh Heller. He's a rabbi in Atlanta, very, very funny, special person. And he points out that in the Talmud, there's actually a question. What if you can't make it to synagogue? What if you can't get to shul when the priests are about to give their special blessing? It's a very important blessing, and we should hope to receive it. What happens if you can't make it because you're working in the field and have no choice? Before I get to the response, how beautiful it is for the Torah to offer a blessing, and for the Talmud later in time to say, yes, but not everyone can access it the same way. How beautiful it is for the Talmud to give honor to those whose lives are not simple, who can't always choose what to do with their time. A lot of this happens in the early Ashkenazi immigration to the United States, to New York in particular. You can read it in a book called The Bintel Brief, where people would come and say, I want to keep Shabbos, but I can't feed my family if I do. From that place of necessity, new law emerges. It's very powerful to see that this is true 2,000 years ago as well. Back to the text. In Masechet Sotah, in the Talmud, the question comes up, when someone can't make it to the synagogue, do they receive the blessing of the priests? It's a beautiful question. The priests walk up to the front of the sanctuary, wherever you're praying, and they face the people, and traditionally we close our eyes. You're not supposed to look directly at the priests as they're doing this. My family has a tradition of putting our talis over our heads, just hiding our eyes, receiving the blessing without seeing the conduits, without seeing the priests themselves. The Talmud says that if you are unable to make it to synagogue because you're working in the fields, the blessing reaches you. Such a beautiful affirmation of what blessing means and what humanity entails. But it doesn't stop there. It says, what if you were in the synagogue, but you were behind where the priests were? Interestingly enough, the Talmud says, If you are behind where the priests were, the blessing does not reach you. Now, you don't have to be in the direct line of the priests if you're in the fields to receive the blessing, but if you're just behind them in synagogue, it doesn't reach you. Why might that be? Rabbi Heller makes this very interesting suggestion that if you can't be troubled to step forward into the blessing, and you're right there, that's a matter of choice. If you choose, because you can, to not be in line with blessing, well, then it's not yours. If you can't be there, blessing will find you anywhere you are. Which is another way of saying, we are in a position, friends, to choose to receive blessing directly. It's an interesting thing to believe that the priests can channel God's blessing into the world, but take that leap with me, because it can be majestic. Yes, power can be abused, but in this case, the priests, before they offer the blessing, are supposed to recite themselves a blessing. Baruch atah, blessed are you, God, who commanded us with the holiness of Aaron, our ancestor, and commanded us to bless the people Israel with love. This is a loving blessing. And when love is offered, how can we not receive? Sometimes we're out of range, or so we think. Comes a Talmud to say, you're never out of range. If you can't be there, we hold you. Everyone is held. We've learned that these past years. When we can't physically show up, our community holds us. Good, rich, beautiful community finds a way. Friends find a way. But if you can't be troubled to be present for a blessing by choice, then it's not there for you. Choose blessing, friends. That's the message here. Never miss the chance to receive love. Never miss the chance to be a conduit for God's love too. The priests say, you commanded us to bless the people Israel with love, which tells us that the priest is only eligible to be a conduit for God's blessing if the priest acts lovingly. We can all be part of Mamlechet Kohanim, a kingdom of priests. Now that there's no temple, any one of us can be that conduit for blessing. Be you a parent who holds their child tenderly? Be you a friend who shows up for another friend? Be you a neighbor? We can show up with love and be a conduit for blessing. There will be some who don't choose to receive it. It's sad. But that doesn't mean we won't offer it. Let's continue to be gentle in the way that we offer blessing in the world, and let's allow ourselves to be vulnerable enough to receive it, to acknowledge, I need to be in that room. I want that blessing. And when I can't be in that room, may I remember that the room remembers me. Yes, as Arlene said, to show up with love. All right, friends, let's have a good day. Let's bless each other gently, and let's receive it gently too. Here we go. Bless you, friends. See you tomorrow.